We are the Red Stick Real Estate Investors. You can find us on Facebook. Make sure you're plugged in there, or Meetup. We're trying to do a little bit better job of reminding everybody and scheduling this out early to remember it's first Tuesday every month right here, Red Stick Social. We have a website too, Red Stick Investors. There's a little button, join the community. You'll get added to the email list. I don't know that we've ever sent an email out to the list yet, so I promise you we won't spam you. We may not even email you. But let's just try it and see what happens, you know. Plan is, though, to start kind of sending out email reminders and everything, and, you know, kind of utilize the group a little bit in that way. So you could find that on there. Quick room intros. The whole point of this, you know, you're going to get some knowledge from, you know, these two gentlemen up here, but the real value in this room is the networking. Everybody has something to give to this group. So I'd like to go around and make sure everybody kind of know who's who in here. So, you know, if, you know, you got a flip you're looking for a contractor on, or you got a wholesale, you know, that you're trying to sell, you're trying to find a flipper. So let's go around and just ID everybody real quick. Any wholesalers in the room? Sweet. Flippers in the room. For the record, I'm raising my hand as a wholesaler and a flipper, so if anybody needs to come talk to me, I will not raise my hand as a contractor, but are there any contractors in the room? Sweet, sweet. Title attorneys, Rob. Any other title attorneys in the room before I just steal the limelight? Okay, cool. Insurance agents. We're going to probably take that one off. No one's ever raising their hand. I don't know if anybody ever wants to be in here as an insurance agent. Property managers. Cool. And then for this one, if y'all have been here, y'all know how I handle this. We've got private and hard money lenders in here, but instead of just bombarding them, if you have a deal that you're looking for funding for, raise your hand. Okay, cool. Again, for the record, raising my hand. If anybody would like to lend on a couple of properties, I've got a couple of properties. So, cool. Let's kick it off real quick with some updates from the Remodelers Association. So, a couple of you guys were in here and asking for some updates on that. So, myself and Bryan and Elliot Grant are heading up what we're calling the Louisiana Remodelers Association. We feel that we've been underrepresented as investors. We've got a lot of money being poured in from HBA, and at a licensing level, at a higher level, there's really no one representing remodelers and us in this room as investors. So there's a lot of things going on right now with roofing permits and requirements on licensure for that. There's a lot going on the permit level, which is really kind of where we got started on this. But we feel we're underrepresented, so we're starting this association. It's very new, it's very fresh, but wanted to just take a minute and go over kind of what we're doing, and anybody that might be interested in getting involved with us, come speak with me after, because I would like to talk to you. We're going to be forming a board here pretty soon, and it's going to be statewide. So we've got some friends from New Orleans helping us out with this, some friends in Lake Charles and Lafayette helping us with this. So we're hoping to really affect some change for our group in here. So anybody that wants to be involved on that level, just come catch me after. But just wanted to kind of, again, quick updates on what we've been doing. We've met now with the Louisiana Licensing Board, the head of the licensing board. We actually all three spoke in front of the Code Council about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. My hands were shaking so bad. I've never done something like that before. But that was really cool. We've met with Representative Dixon McMakin. We have met with the Louisiana Department of Insurance, who is actually going to come and speak to one of our meetups here soon to talk about what insurance is doing, both positive and negative, to us as investors. We've been speaking with the Fortified Roofing Program as well. We have shaken some trees and found some people to speak to at every level, state and local, and it's been very receptive. And I actually like to report back that these people are actually very positive to work with and are actually completely shocked and surprised at what we're telling them and delivering on what's kind of affecting us as investors. So this is a pretty fun endeavor for us, but really, game changer for us as investors. So again, anybody that wants to be involved. On a quick side note on that as well, I've got a couple of sign-up forms up here that I'd get y'all to come and meet me for after. The Code Council, this is more of a local level of how we're going to affect change as far as permitting goes. So I think everybody has had an issue or two with permitting. The permit office themselves, I have to say, after working a lot with them over the last couple of weeks, have been phenomenal to work with. their hands are tied due to a lot of code restrictions on the existing code. So what we've done by speaking in front of that board, they've invited us to now come and apply to sit on the code council board for existing building code. So they told us it takes at most about an hour a month at most on a Zoom call. And I'm telling you, after speaking with these guys, it is very, very influential to be on that board, and it helps us a lot to have a voice from this committee and this group. So it would be very helpful. All three of us have signed up to join on this board. It'd be helpful if we could grab a few more in this room. I don't want to say experienced investors only, but if you've got more than 4 or 5 projects under your belt, you've got some feedback that you can give to this and really help us out. So again, quick side note, housekeeping stuff, but please come find me if you're willing to kind of help us out on that. We're going to front run it. Elliot's, very good about arguing, and he's happy to take the hot seat on stuff. So we're never going to put you in front of a board, put you in front of anybody, take the heat. We will take that, but there is help that we can obviously get from this room. So just wanted to update on that. So I wanted to intro our panel real quick. All I did was put their pictures up there and their names. I'm going to let them speak for themselves and tell you kind of who they are and what they do and why you should listen to them on investing while holding a W-2. So I guess left to right, right to left.
Hi guys, I'm Nathan Kimbrough. I've been playing this game for probably about 21 years now. So I've done a little bit of everything when it comes to real estate, whether it's rentals, whether it's flips, whether it's financing them. Been a licensed loan officer for 21 years. My day job is helping disaster recovery in Louisiana. So we take properties that were damaged from any type of natural disaster and either tear them down and build them a new house or rehab the house to put them into compliant code and put them in a better position. So that's, I look at what I do as rentals is real estate, flipping a house is real estate, my day job's real estate. So when it comes to what you do, if you can average what you do into one spot, your mindset is on that one same entity, if that makes sense. So instead of saying I'm a gardener and I'm a hairdresser, I try to keep everything in one circle. So that's me. I've got 3 kids. One's going off to college, and a lovely wife and a dog. So that's me, and I've got a caboose. She just made 10. So I got a big age gap with my kids, but they're a blessing and a handful. So that's me.
All right, my name is Bryan Tumulty. I've been here in Louisiana since 2015. Been real estate investing since 2020. Was working for ExxonMobil for 9 years, so started in 2015 all the way up to March of last year. So overlap there with doing real estate and working for Exxon was 4 years. So that was a challenging time, but that's kind of one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. But I do buy and hold real estate investing, both long-term and short-term. And I also do a good number of flips. My business partner and I started out doing wholesaling, so that's also a part of my business still. And these days I dabble a little bit in roofing as well. So don't have a wife, don't have any kids, single as a Pringle, so if you know anyone, hit me up.
Can we cut his mic off? All right. We're going to dive right in this one. We've had a lot of feedback and a lot of questions submitted on this, so I'm really excited. I hope we can provide some value for the room. So high level stuff, just kind of getting down to the nitty gritty from here, but we'll start with what made you decide to start investing in real estate while still working a full-time job, and how did you take that first step?
Well, guys, I graduated a long time ago from college with a finance degree, and I started doing mortgages and I rented an apartment. So as a finance degree person, giving people mortgages to buy houses, that's like, I'm paying rent, and that didn't make sense to me. So it's like, if I can basically have a side job and get paid to sleep somewhere, why would I not do that? I'm helping these people on a daily basis get a set of keys, yet I'm renting an apartment. So 6 months after renting an apartment, I had to sublease it because we signed a 12-month lease to someone else and we bought our first house. So I looked at it as anytime you're having to sleep somewhere, if it's not paying you, reevaluate it and see if is it time to sell that property and get another property. That's just my opinion. Our first house we built for $145,000, and I was 21 years old. That was a long time ago. I may look younger than I am, but I'm old. So we built a house for $145,000, kept it for about 5 years, which is the longest I've kept a house, and ended up selling for like $200,000. And I just kept rolling that money into the next deal, to where we started flipping our house every 24 months. After 24 months, you can sell it and you cash out for, free. We kept doing that to where we built the house we have today, and utilized that as our tool to be able to buy and flip houses. So where you sleep, if you can use that as a tool, would be where I would recommend starting in real estate and grow from there. So
Two quick questions on that, because I mean it's deep and you made it sound really, really simple. So just 2 points on that. Quick one, 2 years, you get it all. What do you mean by that?
after 24 months of ownership, you can cash out up to $500,000 if you're married for free. So there's no tax implications on that. You basically get free money, and/or in my case, I just rolled it into the next deal, right? I rolled it into enough deals over the last 20 plus years that instead of it rolling into my primary house where I slept, I started buying other doors, right? So every time I'd get another, nugget, I'd buy another door. Make sense? So using real estate as a tool, it's as if you're having a side hustle or a side job, and you don't actually have to work to have it.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're not saying make money where you sleep. You're not Airbnb a room out in your house or something. You're not subleasing your house. You're saying buy low like you would on any real estate and sell high on the back end, and do it with your primary to begin with.
100%.
Nice. Awesome. Bryan?
All right, so I got my start in COVID. Obviously, I had a lot more time on my hands, so it seemed to make sense to jump into something that I've been thinking about for a long time. So, my business partner and I, we had always talked about getting into real estate together. We had complementary skill sets. So when COVID hit, had a bunch more time on our hands, figured we'd jump in. Taking the first step, really for us, maybe a little bit unconventional, but I still would recommend trying this if it's an option for you. We, started doing direct marketing. And that can be as simple for you as just picking up the phone and start calling houses that you drive by that look, beat up, shutters hanging off, grass overgrown, whatever. So, we found a quadplex, actually. It was our first deal. Kind of dove in with both feet. And we wound up financing the private money. So you have friends, family, people in your circle who, trust you, know you, are willing to potentially lend you money for a return and for an interest in that property. That's a good way to go ahead and get started. So, off-market deal, direct marketing, and then private money.
Awesome. Okay, so talk to me a little bit. How do you manage your time and energy between your day job and real estate, especially when projects demand attention during work hours? Are your crews working 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., or how are you managing that during your most demanding hours at your W-2?
It takes a lot, man. It's the biggest thing I tell you, it takes a team. If you don't have a good team behind you, you're going to fail. I'm just being blunt and honest. It is not an easy task. It's not all rosy and easy. It's a process, and without a good team, you're going to struggle. For me, I started off with, I didn't have a lot of money, so I just started doing everything myself. I was changing the toilets, laying the floors, laying the base, painting the walls, demoing the house. And I look back probably about 18 years ago, and I'm going to age myself. Remember Craigslist? Anybody? Okay. Craigslist. So I looked at my wife and I was like, look, it's just me. I had a little kid. He was 4 or 5. He wasn't a whole lot of help. He was there to entertain me to an extent, but wasn't really a lot of help. So she's like, why don't you go on Craigslist and ask to see if anybody needs some laborers, some help? So I'm like, I've never done that. I guess that's new technology. Let's give it a try. So I did. And I'll never forget. I get a hit. I'm like, I don't know if he's a murderer. I don't know if he's actually good at anything, but he says he's willing to help, and he says he's done some stuff. So I said, hey, look, here's the address. Meet me at the house at 2 o'clock. So sure enough, I'm at the house prior to working, and at 2 o'clock, nobody shows. I was like, well, that didn't work. About 2:45, a kid, he looked like a kid, he was probably 18 to 20, shows up on a bicycle. He's like, man, I'm sorry, it took me longer to get here than I thought. I mean, he obviously didn't have a picture or didn't really give me a whole lot of details. He rode his bicycle, I kid you not. I live off of W-2 Road, which is way out closer to Prairieville. This kid rode his bicycle from LSU, on the campus of LSU, to Highland and Jefferson. If y'all know where that is, it's a hike. I don't know how he did it, but he rode buses. I say that, and I don't even know what the question was or why I got there. But it takes a team, and where I started is I realized that my time was not, it was more important than the money earned, right? So I can do it all. What I found is me doing my 9 to 5, I don't really want to call it 9 to 5, it's before that and after that, and coming home and then going to a house and trying to fix it myself. I was spending all the afternoons, and I was looking at a way, how can I get my time back? And for me, it's more important to have time than it is to have money. So I've got 3 kids, one going off to college, she's moving out this next 2 weeks. So it's a big deal for time. And when I can take a good team and put them on a project and they can be done in 45 days, versus if I were to do it myself, I'm 3 or 4 months in, it's missed opportunity cost. So your money tied up is costing you money, right? And if it's, even though you think you may be saving money by you doing it yourself, you're probably not getting it done as fast as if you got a decent crew that's actually in there and out in 30 to 45 days. So if you look at that from a risk standpoint, if you miss a window of the buying season by a month or 2 or 3, that you could have sold the house, you could have turned that profit again into another project. So for me, managing time, I would say that having the team behind you is more important than the work that you're doing. So finding a good product takes a team, finding the right people to do the work takes a team. You got to be able to trust those people. And if you don't have that, you're trying to wing it, or you're trying to just get bids and you try to use different people. One thing that I've learned is I would highly recommend you use the same people over and over and over. That's me personally. Some people may disagree on that. What I can do with that is if I need a dumpster tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning, I can get a dumpster at 11 o'clock in the morning. If I need anything, I need a roof, I need an AC guy, I need whatever I need, I've got guys in my pocket that I can say, I need you to show up at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be there. Versus I've been in real estate for 22 years as a lender. I've got realtors that they think that the idea is, let me go bid it against 10 different people. And then the next time they go do a house, they burn the bridge on the last one. Now they don't have somebody do the next one. And then they keep burning bridges, right? In real estate, relationships is what's going to make it break it, right? You're going to always be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think you'll always be the average of the people that you spend the most time with. So if you're spending time with the right people, you will learn a lot, but you will also have a team that can get you across the finish line without issues. So I'll keep talking all night, but I don't know if I answered the question.
Okay, so I guess as far as the time management piece goes, I'm probably not the person you want to talk to about that, because I did it basically nights and weekends. I was working 80 to 90 hours a week for about 2 years at least. So having a team's a lot better option for sure. The advantage of doing a lot more of the work yourself is really where you just have to decide for yourself. Do you want to pay more money to have a team helping you, or do you want to have more cash flow, right? Do you want to have more sweat equity, more cash flow? So it's kind of a balance for each person's decision. How much time do you have? Do you have a family? Do you not have a family? At the time, I had no obligations whatsoever, so I could do that. I didn't have a wife or kids that I had to, I was looking forward to spending time with each day. So, but in terms of managing your time between the W-2 and having projects going on, obviously, I was nights and weekends, but one thing that you can do is try to meet your crew. Let's say if you have a crew, you can try to meet them first thing in the morning, right before work starts. Yeah, it means you're gonna have to get up a little earlier than you do right now, but there's gonna be some sacrifices involved if you're trying to, if you're serious about trying to make a transition like this. So you don't necessarily have to take my approach and work yourself to the edge of burnout. for several years in a row, but you know, you kind of have to find your own personal balance of how much time do you want to put in, because the more time you put in, the more value you're going to get out, versus, okay, what value am I comfortable sacrificing to be able to still have time for the people in my life or just myself.
Awesome. I got a lot more questions on that, and I think they're going to come out with more of these questions as well. So let's keep on trucking. What have been your biggest challenges juggling a W-2 and investing, and how have you worked through them? I guess more so on that, on the last question, if we could focus a little bit more just on the practicals. You're running a report at 11 a.m. and your crew calls because they hit the sewer line. What are you doing to manage that juggling between the calls from the job site and at your desk?
So for me, I've got a kid she's 18 now, so she's my little grunt worker / helper. I've done everything from real estate from a self-employment standpoint to working at W-2. So for the last, I don't know, good while, I've been a W-2 person juggling both. You've got to have a team. I'll say that over and over and over. For me, you do get those calls. Hey, we just got this. We got that going on. I need a decision right now. I use text a lot, right? I can text something back real quick. That's one thing that I do. When there's a fire going on, I text my daughter, hey, can you go cut this check? Can you go drop this off? Can you go run this errand for me? So I do have that in my bag that some of y'all may not have. But something I've done over the last 5 years more than not is I can invest in multiple transactions with other people's assistance. So for instance, if he and I were to partner on a deal, if I can't take the call right now, I can tag team him. My money is still going to make the same amount of money, whether I've got 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 deals going on at one time. I personally try to do at least a deal or 2 in my portfolio at all times being worked on. And so that's obviously at least 2 or 3 deals that constantly will probably have an issue, right? By utilizing partnership, you got to trust the partner for one, but it allows you to free up time that I would have normally have had in the past to go jump out there and go fix things. I am blessed that I have a job that is a little more forgiving and that I can go do that when there's a big enough fire. But having that team and honestly a partnership, I look at it from a stance of my dollars are so much in the piggy bank, whether I do it all myself or I partner with someone else's money. Sometimes it's better to partner with other people's money and yourself and go 50-50 on a transaction, because now you can do 2 transactions. So now you're doubling your chances of earning money and you're diversifying your risk amongst other properties, but you're also having another teammate that's there to pick up those challenges. And the more W-2 time that eats on my time, because more at this point in my life, the W-2 job does take more time than my normal used to jobs, right? So to juggle that, I'd almost rather partner with somebody because I can count on them to go be there for me if I can't. I am blessed that I do have a daughter, but she's driving off to college, so I'll miss that piece of the nugget. So for me, it's once again goes back to your team, right? My contractors that I have that work for me pretty much know we're on basically rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same floors, it's going to be the same walls, it's going to be the same color. You shouldn't have to call me to ask these questions at this point. After years and years of doing this, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. So when you drive by, like, is that a Nate's house? It's like, yeah, Nate's house, right? It may be boring, but it works. So I would say don't deviate much from what you normally do that works, and just stick with it.
Yeah, so they hit the partnership piece, which I think is huge. I did have a partner, obviously, he was full time in our business. So while I was at my W-2, if we had something urgent that popped up, he could answer the phone. I did have a good bit of flexibility in my W-2 where I could step out and take a call if I needed to. So if you have a job like that, obviously it's going to be a little bit easier for you. If you don't, partnership is a great way to kind of fill that gap. Another way would be, consider, if you're really serious about you want to leave your W-2 and you want to be full-time in real estate, consider trying to find a job with a little more flexibility. Like if you just can't take a phone call during the day, or you're risking getting fired or whatever else, consider trying to find another opportunity maybe in the same field or similar field where you have a little more flexibility. If an emergency happens, you can take a quick call, maybe even pop out for 30 minutes if you need to, maybe forego your lunch break or whatever. But you got to find ways to build some flexibility into your schedule, because things are going to pop up, right? you're going to have plumbing emergencies, any number of things. Contractors are going to walk off the job. Any number of things is going to pop up. So the more flexibility that you can have, the better, or a partner with flexibility. So
I'll just piggyback on that is if you think you're going to do this with no issues, you're fooling yourself. You're guaranteed that something during this project is going to go sideways and you need to be there. So having that flexibility or that team or that partnership is how you're going to overcome when it happens, not if it happens.
Cool. Okay, talk to me a little bit about what does your team or support system look like, and how important is delegation or partnerships when you can't be hands-on during business hours? Anyways, hammer down on that times two. So next question. Looking back, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start flipping or buying rentals on the side of a full-time job? We kind of started alluding to that a little bit, but maybe a little more practical. What kind of advice can y'all give?
Let me ask you this, guys, show of hands. I know this kind of puts y'all a little bit on the spot, but just kind of know the audience. There's going to be new people in here. There's going to be older people. There's going to be investors in here that's seasoned and some that are not. On a raise of hand, how many people have bought a house in your life? Most everybody. I like it. All right. So that is key, right? As to what we're looking at is, what's the question? I'm a little ADD. I have my question. What's your question?
The advice to someone who's trying to start with their job.
You've got to start with a door, right? And kind of like I alluded to earlier, starting with your primary residence as an investment is crucial, right? By doing that, it's put us in a position to where if you keep doing it on repeat, the best advice I was given 25 years ago was if you can build a house, buy a house, and live in it for 24 months, and then sell it, and then do it again, and then do it again, by your fifth, seventh house, you can have $1 million house that's paid off, right? So you can live on the fancy street, the fancy house, and not have a house note, right? And you look at the neighbors, they got a $4,500, $6,500 house note, and you're like, that would really kind of suck, right? But by making decisions to get something that you want, by making a decision to trade doors, is how I would get started. And then from there, build off of that based on the equity that you do have. So some people do partnerships from let me get some of your cash, and give you some of your cash, and get some of your cash, and we can all, I'm going to use your cash, I'm going to buy this deal. I'm not saying that that's wrong, because that is an option. But an option that's practically guaranteed to work is if you can get your own door on repeat, after about 4 to 5 doors, you will have should have a strong equity position that you can self-finance and self-manage your own transactions. And in that case, your money's a lot cheaper than someone else's money or giving up 50% of it.
all right, so I'll take a slightly different approach to this one. So, if you're anything like me and you're in your W-2, you're driven, right? You're trying to, get out there and do, the best job you can every day. Trying to, advance yourself, all that, right? You're going to get to a point where if you're trying to do that every day in your W-2 and just, give it absolute 100%, and you're also trying to do real estate, it's going to be tough. You're gonna start to get to the point where you just don't have the energy. So as much as I hate to say, don't give your main job 100%, if real estate is your passion and that's really what you want to do, maybe don't bite off, all the opportunities to have cash flow on a rental property, for example, right? If you underwrite a deal to break even, which is doable right now, you have a W-2, you have money coming in, right? So if, you have to shell out $100 in a given month to pay a plumber that, more than you were taking in the rent, it's okay because you got some extra income coming in. At the end of the day, you're building equity, right? Every single month that your tenant is paying you rent, you're paying your mortgage, you're building equity in that property. So you are moving the needle forward, even on a property that doesn't cash flow, but still, breaks even on paper. So I'll say that just right now, deals, the kind of deals that you hear some of us talk about that we were finding in COVID, we had a 3.5% interest rate, and insurance wasn't that high. It's just not the environment that we're in right now. So rather than get yourself an analysis paralysis and watching YouTube videos from 3 years ago where people are getting these crazy cash flows, be a little more realistic, be willing to say take a property that's break even, realize that hey, you've got that W-2 as a buffer, and just put one foot in front of the other and start that equity building process, right? Because real estate is a long game. The longer you hold properties, over 30 years, that note gets paid down, and all of a sudden you have an asset you own free and clear. So that's my advice.
So get in the game. That's what we preach here all the time. But getting in the game, and either through your personal residence or through an investment that breaks even potentially, getting in the game is the most important first step. I mean, it's the cliche, it's the hardest step, but it's real. Okay, I want to hit some questions more direct from the group. These are questions from you guys in here. I want to hit through these real quick. So, how do you decide which deals are worth pursuing when your time is limited? Again, we keep having that common theme here, limited time, but it's so important. And I guess to elaborate a little bit on that, do you have any specific filters or criteria that you stick to?
For me, when it comes back to it, is time, right? So I'm not going to buy a deal that's probably more than 40 minutes from my house because I don't have time to go check on it. So my circle of buy part of anywhere is going to be within 30-ish minutes of my house. So that's kind of criteria number one. Two would be, well, what is the end goal, right? So am I looking from a cash flow standpoint? Am I buying this from a rental? Am I doubling my money from a rent standpoint? Or am I buying something that barely cash flows that I bought in with a 50,000 equity position I'm going to hold for 24 months or 12 months? If I do it for 12 months, I get a tax break. And then I can sell it a year from now and get that 50 grand back. And it paid for itself for that year. And then next year I get cheaper money and I don't pay taxes on that money at the same rate. So I look at transactions in a lot of different ways, whether it is a long-term game from a rental and hold stance, a future sell stance, and or buy and sell it tomorrow, right? You got to analyze each deal from a what's making this property unique. Not all deals are deals. Not all houses make sense, right? You can say, well, this is a cheap price for a square foot, and there's probably a reason for it. It still probably won't move. You've got to buy a door that, back in the day, it's location, location, location. It's also, well, what does it look like, right? If you got the ugliest house on the street in the best neighborhood, it may still not sell, right? So analyzing what is a unique aspect of that property that might bring it a value that the next house will not is kind of what I look for. So it's location for me that I can get to and check on for one, but then what is its unique value that it brings to me, whether it's an equity position and or an exit strategy of it's got to be the most unique house in that it's got something that's cool, whether it's a shop, whether it's land, whether it's whatever it may be that brings it separating it from its competition.
Yeah, so location's critical. If you're going to go, say, buy rentals, for example, you don't necessarily want to have rentals spread out all across Baton Rouge, north, south, east, all over the place, right? Because you're going to find yourself just running all around town, right? So if you got limited time, a good strategy is to try to figure out a few neighborhoods or a few areas that are, say, within 10 or 15 minutes driving distance from each other, that you like, that you think the numbers work, and try to focus in those areas if you can, rather than having, a rental in St. Francisville and one in, Gonzales, and it's just going to be very difficult for you to balance your time between these. And the same thing for flips, right? Trying to manage multiple projects across, 45 minutes to an hour apart, which I've done, and it's not fun. If your time is limited, try to avoid that, right? Unless it's an absolute screaming deal, location is important. I'll also say that, if your time is limited, you got to kind of figure out what are your goals with real estate. Do you want to leave your job? If you do want to leave your job, you're going to need cash flow, right? So that means probably rentals, unless you're going to build and scale a flip business, which is difficult to do. I actually really only know a couple people in Baton Rouge that are able to do that successfully for a full-time job. But for rentals, right, it's like, okay, how many do I need to be able to have the kind of income that I'm looking for to be able to leave my job? Or if you don't want to leave your job, there's a lot of people that do real estate investment and don't ever leave their W-2, and that's great. I mean, you can retire 10, 15, 20 years earlier than you would have otherwise just by, again, buying properties, building equity, right? You're building that equity stack. Your net worth is another way to say that. So if you got limited time, you can either buy properties, pay your property manager, break even, right, where you're just not spending much time, or I guess really that's one of the better ways if you're going to do rentals, the unlimited time. So.
Okay, have you ever felt pressure to choose between your job and your real estate goals? How do you think about that trade-off long term?
I would say every decision is a decision that you got to decide yourself on where do you want to spend your time, right? So with real estate, for me, it's just been part of my being, if you will. It's every part of what I've done for 20 years, whether I'm in the game of financing a deal for somebody, lending, partner with somebody, flipping it myself, or renting it as far as a rental. I've done it all from all aspects. So, the trade-off long term is what do you want out of it, right? Are you looking for, like you said, are you looking to retire? So you want some cash flow when you retire. You need immediate gratification. If anybody's got young kids, they're expensive. If you got old kids, they're really expensive. So sometimes for me, I need immediate gratification. So I need another hit. They need a car. I was like, I'm not buying your car, but I've got actually 2 teams that actually partnered on a deal recently to buy a car, right? So I teach them as, you put up your money, and if you want a car, you can make money on the flip, and then they can buy their own car. So real estate has a lot of tools that you can use to get ahead in life. And I would say it's the most liquid, to an extent, product that you can touch, insure, and manage on a personal level that has the most upside potential. I don't know any millionaires that are in the world that probably does not have real estate as part of their portfolio. So.
Yeah, so I definitely felt pressure and weight to leave my job when I was in real estate. A lot of that stemmed from just the fact that I was just working crazy hours, and I was doing that because I had a goal of going into real estate full time, which is a goal that I think was well timed with the market. Right, I started in 2020. Y'all know what interest rates did. Insurance was lower. There was more deals out there. So frankly, it was easier to do that, to get a bunch of rentals that cash flowed really well back in that environment than it is today, for example. So I guess let's see here. Yeah. So I mean, the pressure for me was really okay. I committed to myself that this is what I want to do, and so it was. Hey, do I want to continue to try to do 80 hours, 90 hours a week doing 2 jobs, or do I want to work a little smarter and get myself to a position where I can leave my job? Now, if that's not you, again, if you're one of the people in real estate who wants to, use it as a way to retire early, to build your equity, build your net worth, that's an option that is a lot more attainable, especially right now, right? And interest rates very well could go down. We could wind up in another position like we were a few years ago, where you can stack rentals and get a bunch of cash flow, and then all of a sudden you're looking at yourself and like, hey, actually, I have enough right now where I could leave and just do this thing full time. But if we don't get to that point, and again, it's looking more like, hey, I'm looking at break evens, but I can build equity over time, right? Get that fixed debt. And then the rent is going to appreciate over time. The property is going to appreciate over time. You're going to continue to get more cash flow over time, and equity is going to build. So, definitely felt the pressure. As far as the long-term aspect goes, it's really up, like Nate said, it's really up to your individual goals and what you're trying to do. If you want to do it full time, you got to make a commitment. You got to be willing to really make some sacrifices and put in some hours. It's not easy. It's not passive. Yeah, it'll be passive after many years of holding your properties and having a bunch of equity growth. But in the beginning, it is the furthest thing from passive. So, as long as you're comfortable with doing that, real estate provides so many cool opportunities. It's just you want to work for it. So.
This is a fun one. Do you tell your boss what you're working on, or do you keep that to yourself?
I'm in the construction space, if you will, with my day job. So they don't know if I'm talking to a contractor or my contractor. So I'm going to kind of don't if that's being recorded. No, for real, they understand that I do play in that space. I told them that, hey, like I got a meeting up tonight, so I'm going to leave the office a little bit early today. But for me, I'm dealing with contractors on a daily basis. So I joke loosely, but it's true. They don't know if I'm talking to my guy or to the next guy. I don't know that that's going to work for all, but I am we're handling millions of dollars a month on my team on fixing doors, right? So I'm constantly dealing with a contractor on a daily basis. And so ideally, my guys know to text me, right? So when there's a fire, I can call them, but they know that I'm fortunate to be in a position that I'm in that allows me to have a little flexibility to take calls when I need to.
Yeah. So I would say that this depends on your individual situation and your boss. Your boss obviously better than anyone else. So if your boss is somebody who you feel like would support you and understand that, hey, you're still going to be coming to work and doing your job and taking care of your responsibilities, but you also have these other goals in mind and they want to support you in that, yeah, go ahead and tell them, if your boss is somebody that if they find out that you're doing something outside of work and potentially is taking your energy away from work, and they're going to use that to demote you or, make your life hell, probably don't tell them, and unless I guess they directly ask you, in which case that's kind of up to you. But I guess, I probably should ask this question earlier, but in the room, can you show of hands for how many people want to leave their W-2 and do real estate full time?
Got one right here on front.
All right. Cool. So we got a few. I love it. And then how many people are wanting to use real estate just as a way to build equity, to build net worth? Okay. So pretty much the rest. Okay. So yeah, I guess along those same lines, it's if you're not looking to leave your W-2, you can just be honest with your boss, right? Just tell them, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I do in my free time on nights and weekends. They shouldn't have any issue with that. But if they're the type that is just going to give you a hard time, then probably don't say anything.
I'm the opposite of that. I'm more like, be honest, right? And if they're not okay with you doing it, then maybe you find another job too. So that's my approach. My team understands that I do this as a side hustle, as part of negotiation when I took the job a few years back. But at the same time, you've got to juggle both if that's what you want to do, right? So if one starts taking too much of your time, you're probably dropping balls. If you're able to keep the plate spinning, that's what our team looks for at my job. So keep the plate spinning, don't drop a plate, you're probably going to be okay.
We're going to open it up to Q&A, but I just wanted to kind of recap. There's kind of 3 points here I think keep getting hit on, and you can't really do this without any of them. I think both of y'all kept saying you got to kind of define what you're doing, right? You got to define why you're doing this. You start with why. The old book, whatever, but you got to decide, is this a tax advantage because of a high earning W-2? Is this a slush fund of extra boat money to play with on the weekends? Or, is this a substantial piece of your income? And does this actually help, put food on the table for the extra kid? So start with your why, and then get started. Just get started, get in the game. That's what we preach here all the time, but get in the game and get started on it. It's not going to be a home run. You will probably lose money on that deal, on the first deal, or break even on that rental. But you're saying get in and get started. And really, I guess getting in and getting started could start with defining your why. Don't jump into this blanket world of real estate and it sounds cool and it looks good online that you don't really know what you're starting with. So start with why and get started. Maybe you're getting started by defining what exactly you're buying and how you're going to get into the game. And then 3, I think, really is it takes a team. There's just no way to do it all yourself. I guess you could to some degree, or do you want to actually make a business out of it or I guess I shouldn't say a business side of it, but your systems and your processes and your teams is just crucial to, once you figure out your why, getting started in it and having a team to help you. Maybe down the road you can iron that out a little bit and make it a little more efficient and fire some guys and bring some new guys in. But either way, you got to start with a why. You got to get in, and it's going to take extra help. It's not just going to be you.
Right. To kind of piggyback on that, on the why, the way I look at it, real estate is, how many people in here have a vehicle? All of y'all probably. A vehicle that you drive, set of wheels. Does your real estate pay for it? Mine does, right? So I have to have a vehicle to go pick up stuff, right? How many have a cell phone, right? These are expenses that you have to have almost in 2025 that, I would rather my W-2 not pay for, right? So I utilize my income from my flips to pay for the needed items that I need to run my business.
Home office, Wi-Fi.
All the things,
Yeah.
internet,
Yeah.
right? Whereas my rental income, I take all of it, right? I don't write off hardly anything to my rental outside of the things that you need to. But for the vast majority, most of my expenses is derived from my fix and flips, because that's where you're going to be taxed the heaviest. Passive income from a rental portfolio is not taxed at the same rate. My W-2 job obviously gets taxed heavily. So allocating the funds that you receive from the different buckets of income that you get with real estate, and then utilizing those buckets to offset things that you already have to have. So that's how I look at it.
Cool. Just want to get a quick few minutes for Q&A. I think we try to cover as much as we can here. Is there anything that we can cover here? You got two solid dudes up here willing to give some feedback on stuff. Is there any cues so we can give some A's?
Yeah. Are there any books or resources you would recommend to someone just starting out that you could go back in time and give yourself a book or two? Is there one you would recommend?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
For that, right? So I would say, I'm going to be blunt and honest here. I don't read books. Okay, so I'm the wrong guy to answer that. What I can tell you is, you need to shake hands with somebody in this room that's done this and partner with them and learn what they do. Taking somebody from a hands-on approach learning is going to teach you way more than a book will ever teach you. I'm not a fan of the ones that sell courses. There's a lot of that goes around on the internet. You buy this, you're going to be a millionaire in a week. No, you're not. I'm just telling you, I'm 20 plus years into this, you're not, right? The best advice I can give you is find somebody that you can meet in this room or in your circle of influence that is in the game, and figure out what they do and learn from them. All right, let's go to the blue shirt guy.
Do y'all have any experience buying homes from online auctions, the bidding process, any recommendations on do's and don'ts?
Yes, stick with what you know is going to work, and stick your number in where you think it's going to work. A lot of those come in and say it's going to post out at $20,000. You're not going to get the house for $20,000 unless somebody completely missed it. If the house is worth $200,000, there's going to be a reverse engineered into it's $200,000. It's going to need $50,000 to work. You got to get all those numbers play out. Run your numbers based on what you need to make on the deal, and then peg that number. And if I had to guess, if I were to take the top 10 people in this room that buy houses, we're going to be within about 3 to 5% of each other. So that is, and I joke about it, I'll peg a house against Asa and be like, hey, there's my number. And he's like, yeah, that's my number. So we've done it long enough that the people that do this often enough, we pretty much have the same formula. So to win a deal on that, personally, on an auction is a luck of the draw, in my personal opinion. I have bought those. I've bought foreclosures. I've dealt with banks to try to negotiate the deals. They're not easy, right? And you're not guaranteed to get an auction. And I would say, you go downtown. I know Elliot is one of the main guys in here. He buys all of the auction houses, so you're probably not going to win, right? And he's doing all of them, so he has a smaller margin that he has to make. And you may only do 3 to 5 deals a year. He's doing 100 deals a year, right? So he doesn't have to make $20,000, $40,000 a door. He can make $5 or $10,000 a door because he's got 10 doors going. So auctions, to me personally, doesn't typically. You're probably not going to win on that. You need to get in a relationship with a network of guys that are feeding you good deals that you can buy off market. If you're looking on the MLS, it's probably too late. Have I bought houses on the MLS? Yes, right? But chances are you need to meet somebody that is in the space of sending the deals, because that goes back to your team and your network. your team's going to give you the deals that you need to make money on, not probably an internet auction. I'll take it one example that it did work. I had a property in Baton Rouge that I tried to buy for $65,000 from the bank because it was going to foreclosure. They wouldn't take my offer. I don't know what auction site they put it on. They put it on an auction site and did an auction from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to like 8 o'clock at night. No one saw it, and someone picked it up for 14 grand. And I was like, guys, I just literally offered you 65 grand, 3 weeks ago. And they took it because it was an auction. I'm not saying you can't win on those. It is a once in a blue moon that it could happen and unlikely to happen, but it does happen.
And they've added now too. I know it's EVR for sure enough as Livingston as well, but it's going online now, so it's only going to get harder. You thought it was already hard enough on courthouse steps. Add the online factor now, and it's going to be far and few, between deals online now.
I have an LLC, so all my properties are bought through my LLC. All my rentals are through my LLC. All my expenses run through my LLC, and I have a CPA that's been my CPA for 25 years. So I wouldn't say he's strictly a real estate CPA. He's just a CPA.
I do have to give flowers where they're due. I don't know if you were about to elaborate on John as well, but John is the former host of this with Attract Accounting. He's my personal and business CPA. He is a real estate based CPA. So any kind of cost seg studies, anything on your rental portfolio versus a flip. I don't understand that stuff, but I can tell you it took all my business from my prior CPA over to John's firm, and they've been phenomenal. So he's a friend of the group here, the original guy who started this group. So he understands a thing or two about real estate, but he is a CPA too.
Yeah, John's great. The underlying point though, whoever you use, make sure that it's, like you said, real estate focused. You can use any old CPA, but they're not going to necessarily understand all the ins and outs that they need to be able to get you the best tax breaks and help you also with your strategy, right, as you're moving forward and you're growing. So yeah, as long as we're real estate focused, and yeah, as far as entities go, LLC is going to be the easiest. You can do other entities like an S corp if you're doing a bunch of flips and you just want to pay yourself a salary and then take your distributions on the rest. But again, if you have a good real estate accountant, they can coach you through all that. So yeah.
Anybody else?
What advice
Yes, ma'am.
would you give someone who's trying to leave their W-2? Oh, it's slow right now, but we all had some really good years, some good seasons. Do they leave in the good season?
So if the good season has yielded stable cash flow, yes. I think, the best way to answer that question is if you're going to leave your W-2, don't leave your W-2 just because you did one flip and you made 80K and you think you're a flipper now and every deal you're going to make 80K. Don't do that. Definitely don't do that. Establish a track record where you can buy properties. If you're doing flipping, right? Buy properties, renovate them, sell them, make a profit consistently. Make sure you're getting consistent deal flow. Ideally, you'd have some form of just a stable base of income, ideally from rentals, whether they're short term or long term. But leaving your W-2 when times are good is a recipe for regretting that decision when times are bad. So either have a stable base that you've built up, or take it into a bad time, see how things are going with the real estate side. And if it's still going good, even in the bad time, you're probably doing pretty good and you can leave.
I would say is have a strategy, right? You got to be able to cash flow. Cash flow is what sinks anything that's out there, right? So if you have the cash flow that it takes to sustain the lifestyle that you want, and you're at a point that you can do that, move forward. A strategy that I've set my team up, or say team, my family, they're part of my team, right? I have rentals that pay our line of credit when we go buy a flip. So my real estate business doesn't cost me money. That makes sense? Yeah. So I don't want to take a project and have to cash flow from my W-2. Okay, so I keep it from bucket A and bucket B, right? So my day job is just the normal life whole bills and your insurances and your all that kind of stuff, and it takes most of our tax burden. Whereas our fix and flip stuff is a separate bucket, And I don't want to take that, say you're holding a product and you're holding it and you thought it was going to sell in 30 days and you're 6 months in, you're still paying X dollars per month. Now that's coming out of your day job, right? So if you haven't got it built to a point that you can sustain on its own, it's probably not the time to jump. If you got enough cash flow coming in from your side hustle, you got enough rentals to cover the flips, and it's not costing you money and you're making money, then I would say I would start having that conversation. But it would take, I would probably say a minimum of about 10 doors before I would even potentially have that conversation.
Is this a good time or a bad time?
Bad. So the cost of money is extremely high. I've been a licensed loan officer for 21 years, and this is the worst, I would say, probably in the 21 years that I've been in the game, just because cost of money makes it difficult on deals. So, with COVID, houses jumped 20, 30, 40% in cost. Taxes have increased because of that. Insurance is almost double than what it was 3 years ago. Mortgage rates are pretty much double what they were 3 years ago. So your cash flow.
But get started. Just start. Just do it. Take the leap.
You gotta buy a deal based on the equity stance. You're not probably buying a deal from a cash flow stance. Now I'm not saying you can't find a deal from a cash flow stance, but it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You mentioned line of credit, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between a mortgage and a line of credit?
So a mortgage is typically going to be a 30-year mortgage, right? You can do a 15, 20, anything else in between. And that's going to be a fixed rate typically that's going to be a set payment that you're set every single month. You can piggyback once you have enough equity on your home, typically up to about a 90% of the value of the home. So if you have, let's say, 80% debt load on the house, maybe you get a 10% line of credit. So if you have a $100,000 house and you owe $80,000, you can get a $10,000 line of credit. So maybe depending on what price point of house you're looking for, that 10 grand gives you that 20% down that you need to buy the next house. You can start doing that. So what I did personally is I built enough houses and sold enough houses to where we had, I think I built it to where I had a $75,000 line of credit, right? So my equity spread gave me 75 grand. I then bought a townhouse for 42 grand. I paid cash for it, okay? That townhouse was worth 80 grand. So now I have a free and clear house that I use some of my money on the line of credit. Now I have a free and clear house. I go to that bank and say, I want to put another line of credit on that house. So I put a $50,000 line of credit on that house. So then I was able to pay off my primary house. Okay, well then another door popped up and I just did it again. So I've never used my personal money from a cash stance. I've used property that I've built equity on to do that. And by utilizing a line of credit, allow me to do that.
And line of credit's going to be higher interest, more aggressive, short-term money. Mortgage, think long-term money, stabilized. You've got your rental. You're not going to use a mortgage to buy a flip house. You're going to use a mortgage to hold your rental property once it's stable and you're collecting the cash flow off it. Like he said, you can use your line of credit to purchase it, and you're going to put a mortgage on it to pull your line of credit back up.
You can't stroke a check for that debt; they'll foreclose on it. Ask me how I know, right? So, and this personally happened to me. So I had a house, and the line of credit tapped. I think it was after 5 years. And the bank during COVID was attempting to get it refinanced. The bank, because rates were at 3%, couldn't do it fast enough. So we got to the end of it, and the note's due, right? So I got to write a check for 50 grand, or we foreclose because we can't refinance. We'll refinance next week, but you got to find 50 grand tomorrow. So it's a high risk one to do a lot of credit. So it's 4 years short term stuff. So in that situation, I had another flip going on. So I'd use the line of credit for that flip. I use line of credits for in and out transactions, not for long term. How do you want to answer that?
Absolutely, this group's purpose.
I'll say yes, that is what we are here to do. I probably are not, unless I really know you, going to tell you who I use. I'm just being honest, right? Because it's my guy, right? When I have a deal and he's going to jump, I want him to jump. If I know you and we've got a relationship and you want to partner on a deal, I might bring my guy in and hold your hand and use my guy to make a deal happen. That's more or less learning the group and who you can work with. When it comes to realtors, we got a realtor in the room. There's like 10,000 realtors in Baton Rouge. So there's only a handful that actually do real estate as a full-time job and make money at real estate. There's a lot of realtors that do it as a hobby, and they aren't who I would recommend list your product on the back end. I personally list all my houses. Some people would say, hey, put a for sale sign out front and we'll sell. I don't feel like that's going to actually happen in the environment we're in right now. It's going to take a agent that is one of your top, I would say your top 5% agents need to probably be listing your houses. Those are the guys that are in the game on a weekly basis selling real estate. Talking to Aunt Susie, that's been a realtor for 50 years and she's done 4 transactions in the last 24 months, probably is not going to get your house moved in the same facet that a guy that's done 10 transactions in the last 4 weeks. So I would say knowing who's in the game on a larger scale of moving product is going to be crucial. Learning who we use as far as who's laying my floors, who's painting my walls, who's doing that. I'm probably going to hold those close in my hand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you mentioned, bankers, title attorneys, things like that. As far as contractors go, it can be difficult to share those things just because it's so hard to find good contractors. But as far as the other support fields go, like you said, title attorneys, bankers, all that, we are more than happy to share those with you all day long, right? So, it's important to find a good lender, right? If you're trying to find good rates and low fees, it's important to find a good title attorney that knows what they're doing, can run title efficiently and properly, right? If you need those kind of support resources, come talk to any of us, and we're more than happy to share the people that we use, why we use them, give you some stories about times when we used other people and got kicked in the teeth. That's one of the big reasons why we do this, is to be able to help each other out, right? So, feel free to ask those kind of questions. Post them in the Facebook group. That's the kind of conversation. That's the way that we want to be helping each other out, because real estate definitely is a business where we've talked a lot about team and partnerships and all that. It is extremely difficult to do it on your own, right? So ask the question. We'd love to talk to any of you. So,
and starting with your why too, you're going to figure out. So you need a house or a property to purchase. You need money to purchase the property. You need the contractor to do the work, and you need the realtor to sell. It's pretty straightforward. So you start with your why, you find what you need, and you plug in the missing links to the puzzle. Like you said, that's what we're in here to do. We try to set this up to where this is more of a networking event, not so much of a look at us and talk to us. If you need all the above, right, we can absolutely plug in. Nate taught me a long time ago that every role in a deal has its portion to make its portion of the deal. And if one person goes out of that lane, the deal doesn't work for anybody. I'm confident to say that this room understands those rules as to the wholesaler makes his fee on the front for finding you the deal. The contractor makes his fee. If you've got a contractor who's too high and marking things up, it doesn't work. The realtor is going to have their fee and do their portion. Everybody has their portion in the deal, and as soon as someone breaks that rule or goes outside of that, the deal doesn't work. The investor takes the risk, so the investor makes the best return. The wholesaler found the deal. The wholesaler gets paid to find his deal. The contractor does his work. If he does it properly, he gets paid. So everybody has their lane and their appropriate portion of the profits of the deal. And if someone breaks that portion or someone breaks their chain of command there, that's where your system's messed up. But you start with the why. You figure out you get the 4 pieces you need to transact on real estate. It's very simple. And from there, you figure out what you don't have and come talk to the group. That's what the group's here for. I've made a few $100,000 off of this group. I'm not scared to admit that. Yeah, it's huge. It's everything. It's relationships, especially in a small town like Baton Rouge. I mean, there is no cheat code. There is no fast track. I can show you how to pull any list that you want on PropStream. I'll show you all my softwares. I'll show you everything I do. It doesn't matter. I could go close 20 deals and have nobody to sell them to. I could go take down a property and have no contractor. Nate alluded to having and bringing in a partner on these deals. Back to his point where he elaborates on who does what in each and every deal. If you bring a partner in who has the contractor, he has the teams, he has the title attorneys, he has the realtor, that partner is going to take half of that deal to make the deal happen. So don't be afraid to lock arms with someone to let let them get their portion of the deal that they deserve for doing their part on the deal. But I've done plenty of business in this room, and I think there's a lot of people who else can attest to that as well. Yeah. So I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We try to round this corner here around 8 or so. When we bring panelists up here, they're obviously, generous enough to come share their time and come speak on it. But these are people we do real business with, that we transact with on a regular, and they're up here to answer questions. You've got two killers up here who have come from a W-2 space or in the W-2 space. They have two different walks of life, kids, farther along in the career, hustling, grinding early on. So we should be able to cover any questions up here. If you don't want to speak up in the group, that's fine. Come and utilize these guys. Again, it's all about who you know. It's all about networking in this room. So we always take time at the end for networking time. If y'all have any questions, they're here to answer questions, and they will share their plethora of knowledge. So want to kind of leave on we mentioned John earlier. John was always big on giving some mentality, mindset stuff. I'm not as good as John at that as John is at that, but I do want to leave on, I guess, going back to the why and what exactly you're doing and your goals with this. It is a tough market right now. It's a very hard market right now. And what I continue to see more often right now is a lack of focus and a lack of determination to stick with one thing and get really, really good at it. There's a lot of millionaires who were made off the backs of 2008 in a horrible, horrible market. They focused, they got down to business, and they stayed at it. One of the successes I had, but one thing that I regret is I had a landscape company that I started and ran for multiple years, and I sold it. There's lots of times where I look back at that and wish that I hadn't have chased a shiny object and jumped ship and went to something else if I would have just stayed focused on one thing. So I hear a lot of people want to get into wholesaling, and then they want to flip, and then they heard about land, and then they found something somewhere else, and then they started a contractor's company, and then they, jumped out and started a course. Like, whatever you do, just pick a lane, define your why, and get so hard-headed about wanting to know and analyze and deep dive every piece of it, and you will win. It gets really, really boring. It gets really hard for me to look around and see all of my friends building spec houses right now, crushing it, while I've just got my head down. But I know, just speaking from experience, because I'm so old and I got all the gray hair up here, but speaking from my, minimal experience, but I have seen enough to know it's all about staying so diligent at what you're doing and just picking a lane and sticking with it, because you will win. As boring as it might get and as mundane as it might get, that's the only way you win. In a flip, in a rental, in land, in multifamily, in commercial, whatever you're doing, pick a lane, stay with it, and get so dedicated to it, so hard-headed about learning every piece of it. So, I figure we'll leave on that. But we always leave this open for networking hour. Have to be an hour. We had a lot of questions to cover on that, but stick around, shake some hands. I'd love to meet you guys if I haven't met you yet. Come on up here. Anything else?
I tack on a quick optimistic note.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about a lot of things today that you're kind of hearing and you're thinking to yourself, man, interest rates are high, insurance is high, there's not a ton of deals out there. What I would say though is right now, when times are tough, and you look at the housing market right now, right? Like, there's a lot of houses that are out there sitting, and they're probably gonna be sitting in a couple months as well, a lot of them. So even though things are a little bit difficult right now, if you've got a W-2, especially, right, you've got your income source coming in. Be on the hunt for deals that have been sitting there for a long time, and owner gets more motivated, right? And there's all of a sudden an opportunity that pops up, because if you're not looking, just because things are a little harder right now, good deals are going to pass you by. So stay focused, keep looking. Good deals are out there, and you're going to find them. So.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.